Today we are taking on one of Jamie Oliver's classic 5-ingredient recipes, the messy meatball buns, using just 5 core ingredients. But what if we took this comfort food and made everything from scratch? So here's what we're going to be doing. And changed it. So changing pretty much all the ingredients. So in this video, I'm going to show you a healthier version of this meal, going through all the techniques needed, and all the nutritional information will appear on screen, making comparisons between the original ingredients and what we have chosen to use. And yeah, finally, we're going to be tracking the real time, see how long this actually takes to prepare. Spoiler alert, it is slightly longer, definitely longer than the 21 minutes that it took Jamie to make. But will it be worth it? Hopefully, maybe, of course it will. So let's get going. So first things first, we need some timers that we'll set to 0. So I'm using 2 timers just because I'm going to be working on 2 sides of the kitchen. Are we off? Well, off with 1. Well, 1 second difference, but anyway, okay. So let's get this timer over here. Get this timer over here. And let's get going. So we're not going to need James' book, we're just going to be using my notes. I've got my order down here. So the first thing we're going to start off by making is the dough. So this is because you want it to rest as much as possible in between various kneadings and just from mixing things together. So what we've got here is 1 cup of white flour and 1 cup of brown flour. And we're going to use about a tablespoon, teaspoon or a tablespoon, really doesn't matter, of baking powder. But that's the key thing. It has to be, baking powder. Because if it is bicarbonate of soda, that has a slight metallic taste. So they're very similar in what they do. Just going to provide a bit of rise to the bread. But yeah, the baking powder doesn't have a sort of metallic taste. Okay, so getting this sieved. In a second. Now, voice thing going. And we want some hot water. And we want the pot to get. And okay. So bit of salt. And then yeah, you're just going to add water until this forms a dough. I would add it slowly. You always need less water than you think. And it's a lot easier to add a little bit of water slowly by slowly than it is to add loads of water by accident and then chuck in loads of flour. Right, so yeah, I do prefer metric measurements most of the time, but when it comes to making bread, cups are very just handy and easy to use. So yeah, 1 cup usually makes about 4 flatbreads for me. So we've gone for 2 cups, so that's going to be 8. Okay, so when you can feel it starting to come together, which it basically is. So you can add a drop of water. Yeah, I always need bread with oil. So let's find some oil. So yeah, always, not always, but for this, add some extra virgin olive oil. And then yeah, that kind of just gets the last few bits stuck together. Just give it a few squeezes. And yeah, cover it in a bit more oil so it doesn't dry out. And then yeah, you ideally want to leave it for about 10 minutes for this first stage. So with this method of making everything, so the only thing we're not making is cheese, because I don't know how. You can make everything all individually and then put it together when you want, or you can do everything at once. And why are we doing everything all at once? Because you know what, it's a Saturday and I love cooking. All right, I'm glad we've got the plan. Okay, so on to making the meatballs. So what do we need to do? First of all, so we need to get our oven on. So putting that on at 200. And now we need to start cooking things off. So we are going for, vegan balls instead of beef balls, beef meaty balls, just because I don't really eat beef for various reasons, and yeah, honestly, this is a very good recipe. So yes, the aim is we're going to try and get this done in under an hour, which is pretty optimistic. And yeah, you might be thinking, yes, you're cheating because you've got everything else. This is true, but this is also just makes filming a little bit easier. I haven't saved too much time from doing that. Okay, so yeah, on to the meatballs. So yeah, we've got the oven heating. So what we're going to do with the meatballs is, they're a mushroom tofu kind of blend. You cook these first just to release some of the flavors, make the meatballs nice and tasty. Blend it up in the food processor. We're going to turn it into balls. And then, they're going to get cooked in the oven for, depending on the size of the ball, anywhere between 25 to 35 minutes. So first things first, we are toasting the cumin. Nothing better than toasted cumin. Getting our olive oil back. So as soon as you can start to smell the cumin, we can add our olive oil. So that is, about 2 tablespoons worth. Then, tofu. So I don't know how tofu comes in your part of the world, but for me it comes in 180 blocks. This is marinated tofu. If you got, I didn't go for smoky, but if you can get a smoky one, that would be really good. But yeah, this is marinated in some teriyaki. That one, and this one is garam masala blend. Or plain tofu, doesn't really matter too much. So, yeah, because this is getting blitzed up anyway, we don't need to worry too much about the size. I'm just crushing this with my hands. There we go. And then, yeah, doing the same with the mushrooms. So, the ground mushrooms, right to the hands. Lovely. Get that in. And pink. I'll see if it's that. I'm going to go for the mega burner. Just burn it off. And then I'll some garlic. And then yeah, that's all that. Okay. Right. I'll put that. Take my recipe here. So, yeah, there's no detail in there. It's just sort of a list of everything that goes in. But yeah, I do tend to order it in the order of how everything gets added. So yeah, we can see Jamie only used 5 ingredients. This is going to be, I don't know, around 22. So quite a bit more. But yeah, it is going to be worth it. All right, so 8 cloves of garlic for this. So yeah, with this you can decide how much garlic you want to make. I think the garlic flavour is, yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, so most of these ingredients are going into the vegan balls, and this is just to compensate for the fact that even though vegetables are very tasty and very healthy, they are lacking the complex flavors that you get in animal fat. So animal fat really is an amazing source of flavor. It's a shame that most of it is saturated, which is not the sort of fat you want to be eating in large quantities. Of course, a small amount's fine. But yeah, I think with anything where you're mixing lots of things together, like the condiments are where a lot of the flavour's coming from here. We're not really going to be missing that beefy taste once we've got everything, everything mixed up on our flatbread. So things like pesto and our lovely rich tomato sauce that we're going to be making is going to have so much flavour in it. All right. Keep those for the compost bin. Yes, just like this. Well, sorry, never mind. Okay. All right. Wow, that's a new one. Managed to burn my hand a lot on the handle. That was a bit too close to the flame. Alright. Okay, so what we're going to add next? I'm going to add some chili flakes. And a bit of paprika. Of course, paprika's amazing. So with the chili aspect of this, if you're not really a massive fan of spice, you don't have to add any, or any little. It is up to you. But it doesn't end up being that spicy, even though you think you might be adding a lot. Kind of absorbs a lot of the spice. So around 1 tablespoon of paprika. So we don't want a huge amount of that in it. A little bit. Okay. So always, well, most of the time with spices, you want to cook them out. So raw spices kind of maybe have a bit of a bitter taste, not as nice. Whereas if you just cook them out, so this is before you add any liquid, not that we're doing it this time, but before you add any liquid, sort of cooking the spices out kind of gets rid of that bitterness and gives you just a nicer flavour. Okay, so as always, we're adding salt, not too much, just a bit of salt going in there. That's that for, so we're going to turn it off, let that cool down, might even get it chucked in. Get it chucked in here just to cool it down. So we're using the food processor twice today, pretty fun. All of that in, so we'll be using this again later for making the sauce. Okay, so before we add some of the other things, we're just going to get this blended up. Some spring onions. So spring onions, a bit of soy sauce, a bit of tahini, a bit of flour, and some breadcrumbs. this. Okay, so up here. Soy sauce, good one of that. Breadcrumbs, and a tea. Yes, well, first I have to do it, so I'm going to alcohol. Right, so I'm for that. I don't want to put too much. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to prep our tomato sauce, as we want this to reduce and yeah, let all the flavors merge together. So we're going to use a bit of garlic again, 4 cloves, 3 or 4 cloves this time, and yeah, 2 chilies. So just frying that on a low heat because we don't want the garlic to burn. Okay, so yeah, can very easily just use a tin of tomatoes, but this is the easiest out of the things to make from scratch, and yeah, it is very good. Good, and then yeah, once the tomatoes in, you can crank the heat back up. So I'm going to do the first part of the heating with the lid on, and this is just to keep the heat in and like help break all of those plant cells down, and then we'll take the lid off later to reduce it to the thickness we are after. Okay, and now we're going to do some kneading. So I tend to do like kneading in 2 batches. So our first batch of kneading is in the bowl. Got a bit of extra oil if we need it, and this is just to start to get to the first sort of stages of smoothness. So the kneading is to build gluten. Turn this off, cool it down a bit. And yeah, the reason, well, you can knead it from the start, but the gluten does just sort of build on its own if you leave it. So this is like just a slightly smarter way of working, is that if you leave it, you don't have to do as much kneading. So with this, it starts off relatively smooth. Then when it starts to break apart, then that's when you kind of reach the limit of this stage of kneading. There we go, you can see here, it's like breaking apart. That's how you know when it's done. So, depending on how much kneading you like to do, you can do this a few more times. Might do this once more before I then knead it with flour on the surface, and then that's like towards the end, kneading it with flour. And then you shape it into the balls before you roll it out. And yeah, now we can add our final 2 ingredients. So one of them is not optional. That's soy sauce, one of my favourite condiments. So not only does this add a nice amount of salt, it just makes the colour just go nice and dark, give the illusion that it's been cooking for hours and hours and hours. And if you've got some spare red wine, you can chuck a glug in, but that is optional. Okay, so meatball shaping time. Okay, so yeah, so it is a bit sticky, so you want to do this on baking paper. And then a little tip that I picked up, can't remember from where, just a bit of oil underneath, helps stick to the tray. And then you can even just put a little bit on top as well. So yeah, so this is just sunflower oil. Okay, that's bubbling a lot, so I've really turned the heat down. Here. So, okay, so that is too hot for me to touch, I think, right now. So what can we do instead? Well, we can do another knead. Let's do one more knead, and then we'll get on to the balls. And it's like only 26 minutes, and then look at how much progress we've made. Okay, so even though that was only left for a few minutes, already feels a lot smoother. It's good. Okay, so yeah, so this is quite sticky. Oh, I forgot to add a bit of flour. Silly me. So yeah, so I've wet my hands just because it stops the balls from sticking to your hands. So we got 3 bonus balls. Happy days. Okay, so yeah, around ping pong size, right. Look at that. We are now on 35 minutes in, and these do take about 25 minutes when I'm going to first check them. So we are on track-ish. So that is in the oven. So we'll check those at 1 hour. So if I can make 8 flatbreads and 1 pesto in 25 minutes, we are on for a winner. Okay. So now that is looking good. So we can have the lid off for that for now. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to make a pesto. So we are going to get going. So first of all, we're going to blend basil leaves. So the recipe says 50. This is a generously big 50. But then these. We're doing that, looking pretty blended. 100 grams of nuts. Oh yeah, that is looking good. See, this was the first time I've ever made pesto. Can you believe that? Alright, so the recipe I found, so I've got a really good like traditional Italian cookbook. Calls for 50 grams of Parmesan and 50 grams of pecorino. Can't really find pecorino. Maybe if I went to the fancy Italian shop, could have found it. Didn't have time. So we've got 100 grams of Parmesan, freshly grated. Okay, so you can also add a garlic clove. I don't know, I'm not really a massive fan of raw garlic. Okay, so that looks good. So now, final step is you're slowly drizzling in about 200 milliliters of olive oil. So extra virgin olive oil. Yeah, you can't really replace extra virgin olive oil in a pesto. This has so much flavor. You need to use the real stuff. I know it's expensive, but this is where all of the flavor, well, a lot of the flavor for the pesto is coming from. So here we have 500 mils. I'm just going to eyeball it. So I reckon that will take us to around the top of El Españole. So we're going to drizzle in as we blend. Okay, yes. So now we've done. Ooh. That is amazing. Smells so fresh. Okay, now we just need to put some pepper. Probably not much salt because yeah, Parmesan does have a lot of salt in it. Not a salty piece. A bit of pepper. A bit of salt. Quick mix. And a taste test. Always have to taste. Not bad for my first ever pesto. Nice and cheesy. I am happy with that. And made in just over 5 minutes. Okay. We're going to leave that over there for now until we serve up. Okay, probably more. So now we're just on to a mega task of making bread. Okay, just actually make sure nice clean surface. So just kneading it all at the moment. So this is just to make sure that it's going to roll okay. So using the flour just to kind of get rid of any excess moisture from the oil. Okay, so that was a few minutes of kneading. And then it just starts to feel so much smoother. It's almost instinctive, you know when it's done. So I'm just slowly adding a bit of flour if needed. And then, yeah, it just suddenly changes, and that's when you know that it's done. It's hard to explain without doing it, but you will just know. And yeah, looking at it, it doesn't have those like the same tears really. So a little bit, but not really, but not the same. Not tearing like it was before. And yeah, we can see I'm kneading it on an unfloured surface. It's not sticking. So yeah, the amount of flour in there is good. Okay, so once you've got it to this stage, it's now time to, yeah, cut it up and roll it out. If you got a cutter because your wife loves making sourdough, you might as well use it. So yes, like I said at the start, this should make, well, I say it should, it will make 8. So that's 4 there. Yeah, you don't need to worry if it's exact or not. So I tend to do it, yeah, about half the time. We'll leave that there. You can, even if you are really concerned about it drying out, you can kind of vaguely put the tea towel over it. So once you've got these little things, your little bits, you need to, yeah, kind of shape it into a ball as best as you can. So just kind of like doing this kind of motion. And this is all to kind of create like a tension, almost like a skin. And push it all in together. Push that little bit together. And then you're done with that. And yeah, same with this one. So they're a bit small. You're just kind of like rolling it, trying to make it into a ball. So yeah, works a bit better on the surface. If not, yeah, you can do it on your hand. Same before. And then yeah, pushing it all in together. So this just makes it roll a bit easier. Puffs up a bit nicer. So now you kind of got this skin, this tension on the top, which helps kind of keep everything together. And you do want to kind of do it in order, because it kind of has the same amount of resting time. So it's even, yeah, it needs a bit of resting time, as we'll see when we start to roll it out as well. Just do that one a bit quicker. Our timer, okay. Gonna be up against it. Let's see how we get on. Okay. So, this is where it's a bit frantic. So we're gonna be rolling and cooking at the same time. So over to the cooking station. Got our sauce, it's looking good. Where am I going? I'm going over here. So it's a bit thick, so that's on, yeah, on high heat to reduce. So for this, you do want a pan with a lid. So we're going to be making a miniature tandoor oven. Right, I'm just giving myself some space so we get the video here. So yes, that's on a high heat, just to heat it up. I've reduced it. Okay, so onto the rolling out. So when you roll it, like, not that we need to worry too much about it being completely round, but it is very satisfying when they are. So the first steps are just sort of, yeah, squeezing out, and then even when you're rolling it, you're not doing back and forth, you're still doing this, obviously not as much as this, but that sort of motion. Then yeah, as soon as you start to feel it stick, add a bit of extra flour. And then yeah, it's like the edges, it kind of flattens out in the middle, and then the edges is where the dough is. So it's going to be flatter than this. But when it gets to this stage, again, you want it to give it a little bit of a rest. So we're going to put it over there and move on to our second one. So yeah, I'm just kind of squeezing it out, flattening it down. And again, once it's this size, we're just going to leave it. Okay, I'm just going to do this third, final one and roll out our first one. So with this, if you're not happy with how it's gone, you can always just reform it into a ball and yeah, start again. Okay, so we're going to leave that now. So the reason we've left it, hopefully it'll be clear when we do this, is now this should roll out just a lot easier, even though it's not really rested for that long, but that is all it needs, is just to make this, yeah, roll out that bit easier. So while I'm doing this, I'm kind of distributing flour, but I'm also feeling the thickness. So before, yeah, you can kind of feel it, maybe it's a bit thicker at the edges. So roll it out so it's the same thickness all the way through. You don't want it to be too thin. But here we go. So how thin is this? This is about as thin as a coin. A 1 cent or penny piece. And then it's good. Okay, so this feels quite well. Might get this heating up again. So the secret is, yeah, we want it nice and hot. We can always, yeah, adjust the heat. And yeah, we are like lightly frying them, because yeah, it's just tastier. So I'm a big fan of roti, which is, yeah, Indian flatbread. That you dry toast and then you add the like fat afterwards, either in butter or oil form, but they are very tricky to cook right. Whereas this is like a bit of a cheap way to get something that's very, very similar. Not quite as good, but very similar, but yeah, a lot easier to make. Okay, so just dusting off the last bit of flour, then putting it in like this to try and get it as flat as possible. And then yeah, the lid goes on. So this is on the highest heat. You can see it's starting to cook a bit, and then you'll see the bubbles. Okay, so this is why we're going to be a bit frantic, because we're doing this and this at the same time. So we can... Yeah. Okay, so when we're starting to see the bubbles, it's ready to flip. You can maybe leave it a bit longer actually. I've put a bit of oil on top. Yeah, using tongs. Tongs are really the best thing to use. Flip it. Okay, yeah, it was a bit early, but you get the idea. Right, so yeah, first one is very hard to get the first one right because the pan is never quite at the right temperature. So yeah, I'm just going to give this a bit more time. You just want it to be a bit more brown. Something nicely. Okay, so now this one is good to go. What's this one? So our final 5 minutes. So we are going to go over the hour time limit, but honestly, I don't think that's a problem. With that, right, should be done. There we go. So this is the colour. It's the colour we are after. And yeah, we can see, so because of the baking powder, it is puffing up. Yeah, puffing up. All right, so this is done. Put it onto our plate. Back over, so yeah, this is still on high heat. Couple of oil. Nice and hot, lots of smoke. Whoops. Final 2 minutes. Okay, we are just past the hour mark. So, if you're in the middle of making bread and you need to stop the production line, that's okay. Once this one's done, we're going to, well, so it's done, I'm just going to turn the heat right down. I might even turn it off. Yeah. There we go. So I'm just going to turn it off because we don't want that to burn. So our tomato sauce is thickening nicely. Turn it up a bit. Okay, so now time to check on the balls. Okay. So, just over 25 minutes. They're looking good. So yeah, they feel just like a little squidgy still. So, they are cooking. Just a little squidgy. So yeah, I'm going to turn it around, just because the back of the oven is a little bit hotter. And we'll give them maybe 10 more minutes. Which is what has happened in all of the other attempts. So this is good. So we haven't made our bread yet. So, yeah. All right, let's start to bring things together now. So, let's do this one. Okay. Okay, my pesto. Has really reduced down, but that looks amazing. That place. Wow, that's so rich. Just a nice little kick from the chili as well. Our final bread is done. I love making flatbreads. I mean, just look at those. So good. Okay, we've got our flatbread, we've got our sauce, we've got our pesto. It's now time to check on our meatballs. They are looking good, yes. Much firmer than before. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to make some space. For the spoons. This. Spoon for us. Okay, then. Finish off. Yeah. Okay, so in just under an hour and 15 minutes, considering we have made everything from scratch, apart from the cheese, which is the final thing. So yeah, Jamie Oliver went for mozzarella. Tried it with mozzarella. It's really sweet. It's a mess. Burns your mouth. Just going for some classic cheddar. Turning the oven off. Okay. So, what bread do I like? This one looks good. Then, nice base of pesto. Couple of balls. Bit of cheese. Bit of onion. And then, tomato sauce, which you can have as much as you like of. Okay, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Right, so let's tuck in. They're so good. You can really taste that pesto. Never made pesto before. Don't know if this is what all pesto is like, but I really am a big fan of this pesto. And that tomato sauce as well. So nice and rich and yeah, so much flavor. So yeah, very different to the original. But yeah, I'm very happy that I did it. I would recommend that you give this a go, even if you don't try all of the components. Just try making one of them and using that. Honestly, you're not going to be disappointed. All right, catch you in the next one.